Welcome to the show.
Starman! I told you to wait in the car!
Starman.
Brainwave. Get it out.
The Justice Society. They're gone.
Come on, we gotta get out of here.
Grundy.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my Justice Society video for DC TV. It's all going to be Stargirl Episode 1 stuff in this video, but I will talk about what's going on with the Justice Society on that TV show and how that relates to Justice League stuff in the DC TV series. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We'll do an Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know which other Justice Society characters from the comics you want to see come onto the series. What I'll do is I'll talk about this clip first, then I'll talk about all the Crisis on Infinite Earths DC TV multiverse stuff that's going on, Justice League Easter eggs, because there's so much stuff to unpack just in this opening scene from Stargirl Episode 1 that is crazy. So if you don't know what's going on, there's a new Stargirl TV series. It's basically a Justice Society TV show, but you're just getting the Justice Society from Stargirl's perspective. She's the main character. This opening scene is meant to give you a bunch of the backstory and to sort of establish what the Justice Society is within this Earth. Because per Crisis on Infinite Earths, in that post-credit scene, we found out that this is all happening on Earth 2. The reason why it's Earth 2 and not Earth Prime is because most of you will know the Justice Society comes from Earth 2 in DC Comics history. The Justice Society was basically all of DC's Golden Age heroes teaming up before there was a Justice League. When they got to the Silver Age of comics, DC rebooted a lot of their comic book titles, introducing newer versions of all the heroes, like instead of Jay Garrick, it was Barry Allen becoming the Flash. Then they formed the Justice League, and what later writers would do to sort of bring in those Golden Age heroes and explain that they didn't go away, they didn't completely replace them, they still existed somewhere, is they used the multiverse. And what they did is they did the Flash of Two Worlds, where Barry Allen vibrates so fast that he winds up on Earth 2 meeting Jay Garrick and all the Golden Age heroes. Then they started doing big Justice League, Justice Society crossovers, so they kind of introduced that idea through Crisis on Infinite Earths. All this stuff happening on the Stargirl TV show is on Earth 2. And because it's a Justice Society TV show, pretty much any classic Justice Society character is fair game. There's a bunch of them featured in this opening scene, and there's a bunch of them that you don't see that I'll talk about during the video too. So the episode begins with the Injustice Society, led by Icicle, successfully destroying most of the Justice Society in their mansion. The mansion itself actually belongs to Starman, because within the context of the show, he's sort of the Bruce Wayne Batman of the team. He's the really rich guy that just uses his fortune to fund the team.
What are your superpowers again?
I'm rich.
Obviously, you recognize he's being played by Joel McHale, which I think is a huge get. I would have never expected Joel McHale to be on one of the DC TV shows. This is pretty crazy. So that's how much money they spent making this, and that's why it looks so much better too. Luke Wilson is playing his former sidekick because he's one of the few characters that's still alive in present day. So as he's driving his car up, this is the one that he actually modifies later and eventually uses to create the Stripes robot. Stripes is an acronym for the comics, like stars and stripes. He pilots it like a giant mech. It's around 16 to 20 feet tall when it's standing up. It's big enough for Stargirl to ride on his back when he's flying through the air, but it has a whole bunch of functions. But his character is basically like an engineer, mechanic type person that just builds a lot of tech. He rolls up just as the battle is peaking. As you can see, the first one to go is Wildcat. They're basically killing off old members of the team. Now, not all of them are dead, even though it seems like all of them are dead after this battle. But all the green flames that you see are from Alan Scott's Green Lantern battery. That's right, they can do Alan Scott Green Lantern on the series, so that's why you're seeing all this stuff happening here. She goes crazy as he's dodging all these energy blasts and magic blasts, but if you can't tell, there are tons of artifacts and Easter eggs for comic book stuff all over the mansion. During the show, we're actually going to go back here and see this stuff in much greater detail, so when we get to future episodes, if they have any really big stuff, then I'll point it out in videos. All this isn't being shot in one continuous take, but it's pretty close to being shot in one take. You can tell that they spent the budget of an entire DC TV show just on this 5 minutes worth of footage at the beginning here. Up on the balcony, you see Hourman fighting Tigress. They have a version of Artemis Croc on the show later who's going to show up, and they have Sportsmaster, who you see later during this fight. This here is the Wizard, giving him the business from behind. He's one of the founding members of the Injustice Society. Obviously, you recognize Dr. Midnight, and then when Joel McHale shows up as Starman, he's fighting the Gambler. Yes, there was a member of the Injustice Society in the Golden Age comics called the Gambler, who was basically just a trick shot and a really good gambler. No real special powers to speak of. Starman manages to fight off Tigress and Sportsmaster, but Icicle is the one who takes credit for killing him. You see Jay Garrick's helmet as they're running away, implying that he's died or something's happened to him. And then we see a version of Solomon Grundy chasing them down for the first time. This is like the epically upgraded version of Grundy from what you saw on the Gotham TV series on Fox a long time ago. But the important thing to remember is that even though it seems like they kill all the Justice Society members in this attack, some of them are still alive in present day and will show up on the series, like Dr. Fate, Johnny Thunder, both of the Hawks, Hawkman and Hawkgirl. There's a bunch more. There's even a janitor who stares at Stargirl like he knows her in the hallway here, but in the credits of the episode, he's just listed as Janitor Justin. So he's probably going to either be Justin Arthur, aka the Shining Knight, because he kind of wears a hat that seems like it has a symbol of a knight riding a horse on it. He could wind up being Johnny Thunder or Dr. Fate, but anytime the camera lingers on one of the adults or older people in present day, it's because they're secretly either a member of the Justice Society or the Injustice Society. A lot of you probably picked up a very Spider-Man Homecoming and Buffy the Vampire Slayer vibe. Jeff Johns said that's on purpose. Because it's set around high school characters, they're doing that Buffy the Vampire Slayer thing where people in plain sight, members of the community that seem like they're totally normal, are secretly really big villains or really big heroes. Like, I can't remember which season it was, but one of the seasons on Buffy, the principal of the high school was one of the main villains. They're kind of doing that same thing here. And during the post-credit scene in Crisis on Infinite Earths, some of you may have spotted that the members of this Justice Society look very different. That's because this lineup here are basically all the kids she sits down with at the losers table at lunch, so they'll all pick up the mantle of some of the Justice Society heroes. Like I said, some of the old ones are still alive in present day, like Dr. Fate or Alan Scott Green Lantern. You also have people that reincarnate like the Hawks, Hawkgirl, Hawkman. Later in the episode, you find her staring at a picture of all the members. It's not every single member to ever have been part of the Justice Society. It's just meant to be a version of the final roster right before this big battle. So look at the other characters you see here. You'll wind up seeing them on the show eventually. Hawkgirl, Hawkman, Dr. Fate, Alan Scott Green Lantern, Johnny Thunder in Thunderbolt, and then Sandman, and the others we see during that opening scene. Wonder Woman was a founding member of the original Justice Society, but I don't know if they're allowed to do her just because of the Wonder Woman 1984 movie, so don't count on seeing any big Wonder Woman stuff happening here. I don't know what all their plans are for dropping this stuff on HBO Max too, because HBO Max releases next week, and a lot of the DC TV shows will also be on HBO Max, so just another way to get the episodes. We'll get some more details about that sometime soon. But Jeff Johns is basically in charge of this show because he created the Stargirl character. He's also in charge of the new Green Lantern HBO series that they're doing, but he hasn't said when that's going to premiere. I've already done a couple videos about that, so I'll link one of them at the end of this. They've announced a little bit about the characters and the storylines that they're doing. They're doing pretty much what you would expect them to do, the big easy slam dunks. Most of that will be a little bit different from the DC TV stuff because it'll be set in outer space with the Green Lantern Corps, so you probably won't see them cross over quite as much with the DC TV stuff. Next year's DC TV crossover will mostly be a Superman-Batman riff with fewer characters, and it'll be 2 hours long instead of being 3 or 4 hours long. But hopefully that explains what's going on with the Justice Society inside the TV show universe now. So Stargirl very much doing Justice Society stuff, if you're a big fan of that. Everyone click here for my Justice League Snyder Cut teaser trailer and breakdown of what's going on with that project, and click here for my Green Lantern series HBO teaser. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, I'll see you guys tonight.